Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boston Campus Virtual Open House at Halt. While we're waiting for attendees to log on, if you could please write where you're listening from in the chat box. We have Mexico joining us, San Francisco, Hamburg, Germany, Colombia, Ecuador, Israel, London, Honduras, India, Taiwan, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C., Brazil. So great to see all of these different countries and states and cities represented. Moscow, Milan, Zurich, New Delhi. Thank you all for sharing that. So we're very excited to welcome you to our Boston Campus Virtual Open House. My name is Steve Wynn. I'm the head of enrollment for North America. And today we'll be offering a 1-hour interactive virtual event. You have the chance to hear from the Boston Campus Dean, the head of Student Services, and the head of our Career Services team in Boston, as well as a Hult alum. During this time, please feel free to input your questions into the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And we will do our best to address any of these questions during this time. Before I hand it over to our first speaker, I would like to share a brief video with you so you can get an idea what our Boston campus looks like.
Boston is just the mecca of education in the world.
Boston has always been known as a student town, the kind of academic environment I really want to be in. So this is the most international school I've ever seen.
The other day I walked into the elevator, there's Spanish, and then there's Italian, and then there's French being spoken, and then there's also Mandarin, and then there's me. So you walk in and you're thinking to yourself, this is the world and this is the way that it should be.
I love everything about Boston. I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I go to every single game that I'm possible to go.
This kind of sports culture here in Boston is just so rich.
It's a vibrant city, and the history that's here.
The location of the actual campus itself is right by the Charles. So the view is absolutely gorgeous.
There's music and definitely a wonderful nightlife. And you would be very hard pressed to find something that you wouldn't enjoy in the city.
There are different types of working professionals in Boston that Holt has relationships with. They bring in and we can ask them questions about potential internships and potential jobs, and also just having a tour of their headquarters.
The professors that came, oh my God, they had this depth of subject matter. The content was something I had not been exposed to previously in my education.
You meet with a caring career advisor who puts you directly on track with your resume and with your LinkedIn profile.
I can tell that in these past 2 months with my teammates, I improved my professional skills much better than like 5 years working before in my home country.
What I imagined really is a perfect fit. It's what I wanted to see when I got here.
And I thought, if this is what I'm going to get from 1 year, oh, my life has changed.
Great. I would like to now introduce our first speaker, the Dean of the Boston campus, Dean Gonzalo Chavez. Dean, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your background to start.
Thank you, Steve. And it's so nice to welcome all of you. I just seen that video. It's so exciting because this is really who we are. I do have to, I think, clarify that the nightlife that was mentioned, it's only in the weekends when they're not studying, of course. For most of the time, they're studying, right? I'm Gonzalo Chavez, as Steve has said. I'm a professor of finance. That's how I joined Holt. I'm originally from Ecuador. So I hold, proudly so, a Ecuadorian citizenship, as well as a Spanish citizenship and US. I came about 7 years ago to Holt, and I think, I have to say that what struck me more importantly is, as the video reflects, the international component, but also I think we're a place where we really care about the student journey.
Great. Dean, could you start us off with why you think Halt stands out as a global business school?
Yes, I feel like I want to go back to the international component. I feel that many places, including many of the schools where I have worked in all my my journey, they talk about the international experience, right? And it is correct that if you have international students in your classroom, you do have an international flavor. But one thing is to have international students. Another thing is to have an international footprint around the world, right? You're not going to find Holt in Boston and then perhaps some sort of an agreement or a collaboration with another institution somewhere in the world. We have, and we'll talk about this, different campuses, Holt campuses in different parts around the world. We are a truly international school that does provide that international flavor every single day that you're in Boston. And of course, anywhere on our campuses, but I'm very proud to talk about Boston. So I think that what makes us stand out is the reality of what does it mean to operate in a global space. And when you are studying, you're getting your degrees, that's also doing business, right? You are engaging, you're interacting, you're exchanging information, you're understanding how you deal and negotiate with people. So it is a replication of the business environment. So I would say, Steve, we're truly international. And I think the other thing that stands out is just, again, just this notion that, while it may feel like many times it's very descriptive, we are a business school created by business people for business people, right? We want that experience to be a journey that means something, a meaningful and impactful journey.
Great. Dean, can you now take us through the graduate programs that Hult offers?
My pleasure. So we have a series of different programs, starting from the undergraduate program, so the Bachelor in Business Administration that you see there, and then we cover the spectrum of 1-year master's program, and I'll talk about each one individually. Up until the full-time MBA, we have executive MBA programs, and we also have virtual part-time MBAs. So if I may, I'd like to start with the 1-year master's programs. They're on different spectrums. So we'll have the Masters of International Business, which essentially takes you into that journey of what does it mean to be in a global environment, and what does it mean to learn about concepts as applied to a global context. We have the Master of International Marketing, right? So the more specialized masters that deal with, again, the very dynamic environment of digital transformation. We have a Master's of Finance that applies corporate finance concepts to the in real world applications, right? What is happening today? What are the new innovations that are occurring in the financial field? We have a Master's of Science in Business Analytics, which deals with just the whole notion of how is it that we manage the big data trend, and how do we put that together with statistical analysis to prepare you to be competitive in the analytics field. We have a Master's of Disruptive Innovation, which is a master's that basically deals with applying technology and strategy and adapting those things to a landscape that's constantly evolving. The Masters of Disruptive Innovation is one of those masters that's specifically available to those students that want to earn their dual degree. At Holt, you can cover you earn your first degree and have the option to earn a second dual degree. That's a master that allows you to do that, as well as the other specialized masters that I talked about, the Masters of International Marketing, Finance, and Business Analytics. So those are the 1-year master's programs. We have a global 1-year MBA program, and this program is it's an MBA, right? But it goes through the gamut again of covering the core business concepts related to operations, related to finance, related to marketing. I think that what it makes it very interesting as well is that this is the place where we not only talk about the core concepts, we not only place them in the context of a global, truly, as I said, truly international global experience, but we also worry about the development of the person, right? So in addition to the core concepts that I shared, one of the things we're very proud of is the fact that we also we insert a growth mindset into the way in which you learn these different concepts. For the MBA program, you can, for example, also specialize in specific areas, and you do that by taking specific electives, and those electives are going to be made available to you in any of our global campuses. So you will be able to take electives in order to specialize your MBA degree in, either San Francisco, New York, Boston, London, Dubai, Shanghai. We'll get to that in a few more minutes, but basically it's that enabling of the MBA experience. For example, this year the MBAs are going to go on a innovation summit in Dubai, where they are going to talk about innovation and disruptive thinking. Right, that is the MBA experience that we hold. For the global part-time executive MBA, it's a program that's meant, and I think it's very useful for those that have reached a certain level of experience and are now thinking, okay, what is my next stage, right? Do I need to have additional knowledge in order to progress in my current career? Or very interestingly as well, for many, is this a moment where I can pivot and change and do something else, do something that I was always looking forward to doing? Maybe this is the time, and so I need that training in order to pivot. It's so interesting to talk about the EMBAs, that were a group that I was very involved with as I teach. I'm a professor of finance as well. And it's very interesting how, the discovery process happens, right? The magic does happen in that classroom. And many times people realize that their calling is to go elsewhere, to do something else, to launch a new company, to launch a new idea, right? So this is a pivotal time that we empower through our program base. That's for the global executive MBAs. And then we also have a part-time MBA program where you basically approach, you're online. So you're going to be every other week doing a 2-day experience, virtual experience, and covering your coursework that way. You also have the opportunity to come to campus on selected moments in time once a year and have that community feel as well. So we have a mix of full-time MBA, virtual part-time MBA as well. One of the things that I already mentioned is just the diversity that we offer. And as you can see, I think it's quite obvious that I'm quite proud of that. It's impressive, like the 145 plus nationalities that are represented across whole programs and campuses, right? Where else do you get that? And what I always say, and because that's a natural reaction, I know where else. The only other place where you can get more than 145 different nationalities is in the United Nations. No one else beats us, right? That is what I mean by a truly international experience. More than 122 different languages spoken by our students. And our faculty also are a reflection of that diversity, right? As are we. So that's something that I'm quite proud of. And that's something that you'll see immediately the moment you step on campus. And so, yes, so this is our presence, and this is why we call ourselves, a truly international business school. And I like to just, the experience as I said before, during your electives period, you have an opportunity to rotate and to take your courses in multiple campuses, right? We do a very hard work to make sure that you can have that international experience as part of your student journey. So if I may, I'd like to just very briefly just talk about our different campuses. The Boston campus is, the video I think did us, justice, right? It's a beautiful location. Certainly, it's being in Boston is a plus. They said a very academic, city, of course. But then something that it's not always known is that it's the first of the highest ranked startup locations in the United States, right? So it is a startup hub within a country known for that. It's also a city that's the 4th ranked as far as the international student presence. So you feel it's a very active, dynamic city, but you will also be in a very academic city, very international city as well. The next campus is San Francisco. San Francisco is known for its innovation. It's known for its effort in sustainability trends. It's a city that's also very cosmopolitan, right? We have 112 different languages spoken in San Francisco. It's also a financial hub with a whole series of large financial banking institutions. That's the home of the Airbnbs, Instagrams of the world. London is, of course, it is the startup hub in the continent. More than 200,000 registered startups are located in London. It's 30%, 37% of the London residents were born overseas. This is just one reflection of who we are, right? An international school. The next campus is Dubai. Dubai is located in one of the most fastest growing economies in the world. 92% of the population are not from the region, the area, so they're expats. They have shown an 11% rate of growth of international trade since 1988. So, talk about being dynamic, right? A very important competition to Dubai is our other campus, which is located in Shanghai. The Shanghai campus is really a place of groundbreaking ideas. It's been experiencing double-digit growth for 17 years. We talked about the tiger economies. We talked about double-digit growth for 7 to 8 years. This is 17 years of double-digit growth. It is also one of the largest cities in the world with 24 million residents. As you can see, we're located in hubs that are quite relevant. New York, such a rotation campus, is an iconic city. Of course, it's one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the world. More than 800 languages spoken. All 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies located in the city. A series of it's also a financial hub, and you'll have a chance to take courses and learn about the city and the environment when you're with us. So this was a very interesting tour around the locations that you will be able to experience when you're with us. So Steve, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Dean. We appreciate that and your insights there. So we just like to say if people have questions, we're going to take them at the end of the presentations once we have everyone speak. So please just continue to put them in the Q&A. But first, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic is on the minds of many of our incoming students, and there are questions about this situation. So to address this, we have put in place virtual learning options, which we call limitless learning, as part of the Halt Graduate Promise. And this allows you to begin your studies virtually wherever you are in the world, if necessary. Now, we do plan to have the campuses open in September, welcoming students, and we're excited to do so. But we do also understand everyone's situation is different. So please be in contact with your enrollment advisor if you need assistance or would like additional information that's specific to maybe your home country or your personal situation. The Halt Graduate Promises, the Halt Graduate Promise details are posted on the Halt website. They're very easy to find, they're very present. So you can see all of the actions we've put in place to address the concerns for our incoming students. And as mentioned, if anyone has specific questions, you may reach out to your enrollment advisor, or feel free to email questions to info.northam@halt.edu, which is in the chat box now. And then if there's any questions we don't get today, we will make sure that each person that does email that email gets a specific response and a personalized follow-up. So next, I would like to introduce our next speaker from the Boston Student Services team, I'd like to introduce Emily Stallings, who leads this team. And during this time, Emily will address some of the questions that have been submitted ahead of time for the Boston Student Services team. But first, Emily, if I could just turn it to you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yes, thanks, Steve. As Steve mentioned, my name is Emily Stallings. I am a Student Services Coordinator on the Boston campus. So my background, I joined Halt last August, so I'm coming up on 1 year being with this phenomenal community. My background is specifically in higher education and student affairs, where I received a master's in higher education in North Carolina. And so what I do mainly, and my main roles on campus, are working with our student organizations and clubs, our Holt Student Association, which is the student government at Holt, as well as our orientation team to help welcome students to campus in September, as well as welcoming students virtually this coming September, and engaging with you all prior to your arrival starting this summer so that your transition to campus life can be seamless.
Great, thank you, Emily. To start with, what are some of the clubs and societies that the Hult Boston campus offers?
Definitely. So we have 3 types of clubs and organizations on all of our campuses. So the first type of club and organization is our professional organizations. So these are organizations like consulting club, data analytics, entrepreneurship. These are where students can meet people who are interested in the same spheres of business as they are and really increase their network and get to know one another and build community around those types of organizations. Our second, because college and graduate school is not all about being in class, are our social clubs and organizations, where you can create community with people who have similar interests in you. Really can be anything, ranging from wine club to volunteering club to sustainable futures club if you're specifically focused on the environment. So our social organizations are there to really help you create that community outside of the classroom, to have things to do on the weekend, to have those friends that have similar interests as you, to really take a second and de-stress from schoolwork, because while it is a very intensive program, we know you need to have those social interactions as well. And then our final type of club and organization is our sports clubs. So we have the traditional team sports like football and rugby, but we also have a little bit non-traditional sports club, right? Our running club is super active, leaves from campus every single Friday at 5 p.m. For our students to go out and explore the city together while also getting some exercise. And then Boston is really well locationed for, we actually have a winter sports club that throughout the entire winter season will take trips off campus and go up to the mountains and take students skiing and snowboarding. So there's a lot of different types of clubs and organizations on our campus, but we also make it very easy for our students to start new clubs and organizations, because we want the clubs and organizations that are available on campus to reflect what our incoming class wants, what they want to participate in. And so that process is really easy. All you really need is 5 members and an idea. And at the beginning of every year, I lead students through the club founding process so they can get up and running for the new school year.
Great. Emily, can you tell us about some of the networking opportunities that present themselves? And then how likely is it for a student to land an internship or job from these networking opportunities?
Definitely. As was even mentioned in the video right at the beginning, networking is something that really comes up with our clubs and organizations. They were talking about trips they take off campus with their clubs or organization, or speakers they bring in. This past year, we had students take trips with their student organization to Wayfair and HubSpot right around the corner, and really increase their network through those opportunities and being involved in their clubs and organizations. In addition, we also bring guest speakers to campus. So clubs have brought this past year speakers from EY and Boston Consulting Group, and these were in addition and supplemental to what careers already brings to campus for your networking opportunities. And so what I love about club networking opportunities is it's students using their network to help expand other students' networks. You all's biggest ally and your biggest support is each other while you are on campus. And you can really see that with our student leaders, that they want to make sure everyone has the best opportunities they can on campus. I'm in the club leader WhatsApp group to give them updates and things. And all the time I see some club presidents throwing in, hey, this internship's open. I would love to connect you to the right people to really help you understand and know what is needed for this position so you can go in with your best foot forward. And so these are really great opportunities that come up from being engaged on campus and creating that community. And then often we will also have in our professional clubs, because you all come in with a wealth of knowledge and experience, we will have students essentially help interview prep, again, supplemental to what careers does for very, very specific types of questions that students may get in regards to finance or data analytics, because some of the members may have been on hiring committees before, right? They know what students could be asked. And so I would say students trying to find internships is a goal of not only our staff, but of other students wanting to make sure and lift up everyone on campus.
Emily, are there any areas of opportunity through student service activities that can make our students' resumes stand out or improve their professional profile?
Definitely. So we do have some different opportunities on campus, specific internship opportunities on campus, to be an intern with the careers team, with the student service team. There's some great student leadership opportunities in being a resident advisor in Holt House, our wonderful residence hall. And so there's a lot of those opportunities built into campus, and I will be honest, they're very competitive. Students want to work for Halt, they want to engage with us, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them to boost up their resume while they are also taking classes on campus, because obviously we know your students first, right? We want to make sure and be there and support you while you are in your learning process and help expand your resume outside of that. In addition, we also have, if you're interested in increasing your leadership abilities, the Holt Student Association, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the student government. And so at the beginning of every year, students are able to run for HSA if they want that leadership opportunity on campus, and they get to be the voice for their class, and they get to be the voice for their cohort when it comes to decisions that are going to be made higher up. We want to hear that sounding board, and we want that student feedback. And so those are just some of the leadership opportunities on campus. And there's many more that students with the initiative can create for themselves. We always want students to come forward if they have ideas for things that could take place on campus or things that could be better, to come and talk to us on the student services team.
Emily, lastly, could you tell us just a little bit about Boston, and then about the Boston accommodation and recommendations for housing and how to go about that in the Boston area?
Definitely. So Boston, amazing city. I feel like the video at the beginning and Gonzalo touching on how academic this city is really does emphasize what is glorious about this city. I obviously am a person who came from a background of higher education, right? So being surrounded by colleges and universities is something that is so unique to this area and provides so many opportunities for students to not only create a community within their own university, within Holt, but to create a community amongst students across all universities in the area. And so you'll see some of our active clubs, like Women in Business, are connected to the Harvard Women in Business Club, are connected to the BU Women in Business Club. And so they expand their network outside of Holt to really get ingrained into the community, outside of just our campus, which is lovely. But when you come to Boston, you want to see everything, right? You want to go out into the city and explore all of the different areas, all the different towns, whether you're going to the seaport or you're going to the North End to try new restaurants. Do it. It's very easily accessible. You can take the T, which is our public transit, pretty much anywhere within 20-ish minutes from campus, and there's stops right next to campus. And if you want to explore outside of just specifically Boston, there is public transportation that can get you up in to like northern New England. You can get up to New Hampshire. You can get down to New York on the train really quickly within a couple hours, so you can really see not only just Boston, but the entire surrounding area. Regarding our housing, so we do have amazing accommodations on the Halt Boston campus. Halt House is our 500 student residence hall or dorm that sits right on campus. It's about a 2-minute walk to get from the residence hall into Holt Center, which is where a majority of classes are held. And so there are different accommodations there, whether that be a single apartment style residence hall room, or whether that be a more traditional dorm style where you do have a roommate. So there are a lot of options there for you to look into. If you are interested and want to know more specifically about accommodations in Boston, there is, and I would suggest going to the Facebook page specifically for Halt accommodations, as there's people posting in there all the time that are current students or upcoming students really looking for a roommate or sharing their apartment that has a room coming up in the next month for the next year for students to find accommodations.
Great. Thank you, Emily. And again, for any of our attendees, if you have questions, please just put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom. And then we're going to take those at the end of the session and have each person address them. So thank you, Emily from Student Services. Next, I'd like to introduce Lauren Pinetoski, who heads up our Career Services team, is based in Boston. So Lauren, if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background, and then how Career Services supports incoming Halt students.
Sure. Thank you so much, Steve. And hello to everybody on this call, calling in from all over the world. I am in my 6th academic year with Hult, and over my time working at Hult, I have been in many functional areas, being a program dean for the MBA, MIB, for our dual degree programs in San Francisco. I transitioned into the head of visas, and then now I'm into the head of career development for North America. And when we look at what we've done over the course of career development and overall just in Hult in general, the one main thing that I love about Hult is how much not only the students, your peers, the faculty and the staff invest in your experience. It's bar none. And I believe you see Manisha Shireen on the screen right now. Manisha is a student of mine from 2015. And till this day, our global network of staying in touch and really investing in an experience is something to be admirable. And I just want to share that the reason why a lot of our students see a lot of success is that global network piece. So just speaking to my experience, and then also, what does Career Services do? Many of you might be asking, what can I do for my career? And that is such a loaded question. For many of you as well, your Hult, or not even Hult, your career journey is not a one-time thing. You're going to be doing this throughout your entire life, searching for work, progressing in your career, pivoting. And so at Hult, our Career Services team supports the foundational skills so that you know how to do that, not only now during your master's degree, but then afterwards as well throughout your lifetime. And for many of you, your pathway to success is going to look very different than your colleagues in your classrooms. It's almost like a choose your own adventure, but we support not only the development, the skill building, the brand and articulation of who you are and what you represent on social media platforms such as LinkedIn or on your resume. And then we help you go to market, which is, what industry or field are you looking to get into? And we really help bridge you getting there. So over the course of your academic experience as a master's student, it starts before you even arrive to Holt. 3 months prior to your arrival, you're graded into something called a Halt Gateway, which is a fast track. It's modular, different pieces of information that start at honing in on your skills, you looking at and reflecting on what you want to do once you graduate, looking at markets and industries and areas of the world where you're looking to jump into, and then working through the strategies of how to even start doing that. When you arrive on campus, you are associated with a career advisor dedicated to just your program. Now our advisors are former recruiters. They have subject matter knowledge and they understand the trends and the economic shift in the industries of the job market. So throughout the course of your entire one-year program, you're working with that advisor and they're going to guide you through approving your resume, again, looking at your LinkedIn and making sure that you're out there networking. Closer to the spring, we really hone in on your interviewing skills and we do a lot of mock interviews. We practice, we get you ready, and we also have supportive foundational career services fairs for students as well. So we do internship fairs in the spring that help guide you into an internship position. And then during the summer, you get to actually participate in that internship as well. So again, when you think about your entire career journey throughout your academics, you are fully supported by a career advisor. We help accelerate you through that one-year journey to make sure you're ready to go to market. And even for those who are considering the dual degree program post-graduation as well, we're still guiding you in that frame of mind to get you to that end result, that end job that you're looking for. So again, we invest in you, but then secondly, we make sure that you get to where you want to be.
Lauren, does Career Services provide networking opportunities? And can you tell us about the opportunity to connect with alumni who are in the field of that someone could potentially be interested in?
Sure, yes, definitely. And for many of you, when you hear the term networking, I bet you all just pictured yourself in a room full of people with a name tag on and shaking each other's hands and not knowing really what to say. But you know, what's interesting is that this shift with COVID and kind of what's happening in the world is shifting the demand in the market. And I say that in the terms of networking. You know, we are not networking in person anymore. We're seeing everything online. We're looking through friends, families, and faculty in your own personal outreach as really building yourself amongst your network. And in general, too, the effort you put into networking is going to yield your outcome to success for a lot of these relationships that you're going to establish. And through our over 22,000 alumni that we have globally, there are many resources and ways in which we get students in front of you, past, present, and future students as well, too, to give some insight to how they've acquired their jobs, about their experience, which again, I mentioned is very different across every student that comes to Halt. So not only do we have alumni profiles, presentations throughout the course of the year itself. Our students are connected on Halt Connect, which is through LinkedIn, and where you can tap into all of the resources of our alumni by filtering the industries, the job titles, their backgrounds, and then you can proactively work with our students to hear, again, not only introductions to potential companies or even connections, but hearing their journey. Outside of just working with alumni, when you think about networking as well, our corporate relations team, who is collaborating with career development, gives you context. What's happening in the world of business, which companies are innovating, which companies are growing, and which companies are seeking employable candidates. And we do this in a way to engage you, and we do this not only in the classroom by bringing in speakers and projects that you can work on real time, but as Emily mentioned, our clubs and services help us support company visits, whether that be in person or virtually. And we also find a way to make sure that you get your resources. So what types of associations could you be looking up that are specific to the industry that you're looking to get into in the Boston area, in the San Francisco area, or what other regional based networking events could you be a part of? So there's so many different facets of networking, but that's just a quick snippet of how we do that support via Halt.
Thank you. And lastly, Lauren, can you tell us a bit about the success that you've seen Halt students have by utilizing the resources you've mentioned today?
Sure, that's a great question, and thank you, Steve. So when we look at success, we look at employable outcomes. So what are our students doing once they graduate in any realm, the first year program or the dual degree program? And as of this last graduating class in 2019, over 660 companies worldwide hired our students across 76 countries. How impressive is that? That's a big number, that's a big range, and again, speaks to this global network we're seeing. Some of the biggest partnerships and some of the biggest employers that we see hiring our students range from KPMG to Amazon to Education First, Unilever, Accenture, and we have a whole other list going on. But in general, the way we support you are twofold. Your engagement with your career advisor is critical. They help guide you during this process, during your academic year, to make sure that you can go to market. They introduce you to their own network. They provide resources. So again, if I were to ask any of you on this call to tell me your brand, who you are in 30 seconds, that you would know how to do that in a moment's notice. Again, what differentiates you amongst anybody else applying are several components, and we help you identify what those are. So success looks like you're partnering up with your career advisor, you're eagerly and putting in a lot of effort into how you network. And then the last piece is the amount of work you want to put into what you want to do. I'm going to put a link into the chat box, and I ask that you pay attention to me before clicking this link. But within Halt, a lot of you may be coming in with less experience, some with more experience, some with none at all. And we have created a wonderful website. If you put careermapper.io into your web browser, essentially what we're saying is explore the different types of skills and industries that your background fits into. So for a lot of you not sure where you want to end up or what you want to do that basic research. Really identify where your skills align. For those who are not new into the field of work or coming back to do a more senior MBA or a specialized master's, that's great. You have an idea of what you want to do. Now start doing some market research. Does the job that you want and the title you want, do you have experience with all of those responsibilities? If not, that's going to be part of your strategy conversation when you talk to your advisors. So again, those three pieces of success are work with your career advisor, definitely put a lot of effort into networking, and 3, do your homework. Yes, for academics, of course, because you want to get your degree, but do your homework in the sense of doing some exploring regarding what type of job you hope to acquire by the time you graduate.
Great, thank you, Lauren. And again, any questions for Lauren, our head of career services, you can just put into the Q&A and we'll take them at the end. For our last speaker, I'd like to introduce our Hult alum, Manisha Serene. Manisha's here today to answer any questions that you have about the Hult Boston campus, including classes, what exams were like, and then just her Boston experience in general. So please put some questions in the Q&A, and then I'm going to ask Manisha an opening question, and then we'll go to our attendees' questions for her to address. So Manisha, if you could just start with, tell us a little bit about your background and then what you're doing now.
Thank you so much for having me. And Lauren, it's so great to see you. So I went to Hult back in 2015, and I went to the Masters of International Business program. Right now I'm working in the nonprofit field for the One Love Foundation. This organization was started in 2010, and I've been with them for 3 years. And before that, I was with the Global Smile Foundation, which is another nonprofit organization, which specialized in cleft lip and palate. So most of my career after Hult has been in the nonprofit world, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. For the first question, what's one of the, as you reflect back and look at your experience, what's a piece of advice you would give to incoming students who are coming into Boston about something that, you know, maybe you would have done differently, or just kind of some general advice?
I would say the one thing that was really important for me was, so Lauren mentioned career services. I was there all the time, and they're extremely helpful, but Lauren also mentioned knowing what you want, and also coming up with an action plan for it. So what I did was I had an Excel sheet, an ongoing Excel sheet, where I recorded any companies that career services helped me get in touch with, who did I hear back from, how long before I heard back from them. So I had this ongoing Excel sheet, and I think that was very helpful for me. And I think that can also be helpful for anyone coming into Hult. You know, continuing to explore, you know, what kind of jobs you want, but also taking that action to record it and to follow up as well.
Manisha, can you tell us a little bit about what a standard day was like for you, and then what a week was like, and then a little bit about the exam taking process?
Yeah, so standard day, I was very involved on campus, so that, you know, that there's that added on piece. So I was involved. I was the cohort representative with HSA. I was in Women in Business. I was the president of Alpha. So taking all of that out of the scenario, most of my time went into definitely classes where, you know, they were spread out, usually in the morning, early mornings and late afternoons. And then another piece of that is a lot of the work is done outside of the classroom, and a lot of work does entail teamwork. So, you know, post classes, a lot of my time went into, you know, team meetings for projects that were upcoming for that week or the following week as well. And then if you're getting involved on campus, that's also, you know, another piece of it that I would advise to keep in mind. But, you know, how involved do you want to get, and do you have that time on top of your classes and the teamwork?
And then, you know, Hult offers a global rotation program. Could you tell us, did you participate in that? And if you didn't, did you have any friends or colleagues who did, and what that was like for them?
Yeah, so I did not participate in that, but a lot of my close friends did. So a lot of my close friends went to San Francisco, the San Francisco campus, and just the general feedback for that was that they have never experienced anything like that in their lives before. Having to, they said they learned a lot culturally as well, and also adapting within a short time frame to the new environment and, you know, the new way of learning, basically, and meeting new people and trying to make new friends as well along the way. All of that combined did turn into a very, you know, it helps you be flexible, which is also needed in the workforce. You're not always going to be surrounded by the same colleagues and in the same, let's say, if your job entails traveling a lot. So all of that, keeping all of that into mind, you know, it was very helpful and beneficial for them.
And then I'm going to ask you this last question before we open up to our other speakers, but can you talk about your Hult network and how you're currently interacting or have with other alumni?
Yes, 100%. So like Lauren had said, it's been many years since I graduated, but Lauren and I are in touch. We, you know, whenever I need any sort of recommendation, Lauren is so quick to respond. And I do have other people in my Hult alumni network you know, spread out across Texas and in other states. And they're always willing and open to advising me about, you know, like anything related to the job search and or just career advice in general. So I would say, you know, there is this factor to it because, you know, the campus itself is so diverse, but it also allows you to have like those contacts after graduation in like different countries. And I think there's nothing more amazing than that. Like I have certain friends that are in India who are always telling me about what's happening in their lives. So I think it goes far beyond the campus or the rotation program, you know, that Hult provides you with.
Great. Thank you, Manisha. Any just parting words that you would say to incoming students, just in general, before we open it up?
Just one thing I would say is really get involved on campus. I think that's so important, and like you learn a lot from, you know, the activities that you're involved in, and you can take it back to the classroom and vice versa. So definitely make time for that.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna, one of our questions we've gotten a few times, and as you know, we want to try to keep this to around an hour. Any of the questions that we see and that we're not able to get to during this, we will make sure that you're followed up with specifically to address that. But Emily, one of the questions that we're getting is the cost of living for Boston. Could you talk a little bit about cost of living and maybe what average rents are?
I can. I'm going to be very honest with people, though. It does vary greatly depending where you are around the city and how far you're willing to live outside of the city, if that is truly where you want to be, if that's something you think could work. Most of our students do live with other students or have roommates to try and keep the cost down. But I would say our students that are trying to keep their costs down as much as possible are probably paying about $1,000 USD a month in rent. That's just their rent. Some of them may be living with less roommates, may have a much higher cost of living than that. It's truly ranges on what you're able to do. So there is a very wide range, and I am sure students can find somewhere to live if they're willing to have those roommates, if they're willing to live a little bit further out. So there are a lot of options in addition to Hult House, which is on campus.
Thank you. Lauren, this one I'm going to direct toward you. Question about internships and what is the period of time during the program when you can start a paid internship?
Sure, fantastic question. And this is going to differ based on your visa status and which campus you are on. So regarding the United States campuses of Boston, New York during the summertime, and San Francisco, you would be coming in from another country on something called the F1 visa, which means your work authorization is very limited after you've been here for 8 months. So you would participate in the summertime internship, which is roughly 12 to 13 weeks during your rotation time of electives. For anybody that is a U.S. citizen or green card holder, you can work in tangent with you doing your 1-year program itself. But we provide credit for you for doing this internship, specifically during the summer months of May through August. And again, that's roughly 12 to 13 weeks of internship timeframe.
Thank you. Gonzalo, I'm going to direct this question to you about the Boston campus in general. Due to the COVID situation, concerns around security and health of the students, faculty. What is it that Hult is planning, September for the opening as far as measures in place? And then also, what other security is at campus to make sure everyone feels safe and is able to, study and focus?
Thank you. From a general security perspective, our campus is where you have 24/7 security, right? So basically, you will always, when you enter the building, you always have security all the time there. From a color perspective, we are, as you can imagine, we are very actively preparing to ensure that people not only are safe, but also, feel safe. So it runs the gamut of, how do we make, say, entries, non-touch entries? How do we ensure and control, the flow of students, how many students per elevator? How do we make sure that the classrooms are, of course, they're socially distant, but also how do we ensure that as you walk throughout the building, you do it in a way that feels, safe. We talked about, faculty, right? And how they, what is the dynamic going to be, faculty and their interaction with students. We've analyzed, different options for students that want to be able to have the flexibility, right? Thus limitless learning approach. We explore, we can get into very interesting details, but maybe this is too nerdy on me, right? But even the air circulation and the filters, right? How do we make sure that the overall systems in our building are systems that cater and protect, the environment of those that stay in right? Just an interesting anecdote is we are a building whose air basically is replaced and replenished every hour, right? Which is an incredible, this is a very modern and very safe, system. So I guess what I would say is that we are exploring every single aspect of how students, faculty, and staff are going to exchange when you come in the fall. So it runs the full gamut of the protective gear, ensuring that there are the least number of touch points, ensuring that there are hand washing stations. It's quite comprehensive, because in the end, we're all there, right? We are going to be there too. I hope that addresses the point. I'm happy to follow up as needed.
Thank you. And I know things are changing every day here, and in Boston, they're putting out new guidelines, and certainly we'll be adhering to everything. But there will certainly be communications to any incoming students before arriving of what that will look like. I'm going to go to either Lauren or Emily on this one. But how does Hult Boston help students prepare for their post-Hult life when it comes to professional and work life balance, or just after completing the degree?
Sure, I can kick off, and Emily, feel free to jump in regarding more of this, the campus and support side. But when you think of yourself transitioning out of being a student, you immediately become a part of another community, and that is the alumni community. And so you're wondering as well too, does that continue on for? Yes, it does. We have not only a supportive network of 22,000 alum, which I mentioned, we introduce you into something called the Halt Connect platform, which is again is an ongoing database of all of our students where you can filter by industry, by title, all of it, and you can network with your peers who are also alumni. And then secondly as well, on LinkedIn, we also have the Hult Alumni Association, and there are chapters worldwide. There's 72 chapters worldwide where we continue to have professional events where we bring everybody together and also just learn from one another. And lastly as well, this limitless learning opportunity. As an alumni, you are welcomed to come back to Hult every year to obtain a free elective. So when you think about the ever-changing work world and the needs and the skills that are shifting into what's happening, you can always top up your skill development by taking a class. So for many of you, if you go down the route of doing something in finance, but you really want to learn something about data analytics, great, you can come back and take a course on that. So in the realm of your professional continuation, we support you through the Alumni Association. Emily, anything else you want to add?
Not a ton. I would really just want to add how excited we always are to welcome alumni back to campus. In any way that you would like to come, whether that's just to come and visit and see professors and faculty, or if it's to come back and work with the student organization that you were a part of during your time and come in as that guest speaker to increase those networking opportunities for our current students. We're always excited to welcome alumni back to campus and continue engaging you once you have graduated.
Lauren, I'm going to direct this one to you, and due to time, we'll probably make this the last question, and then I'll just have some closing remarks. And again, we're going to follow up directly with emails because there are a number of specific questions from various attendees. But we talk about the dual degree, and that's certainly a big opportunity for our Halt students. Could you talk about that in relation to career opportunities? And are students able, when they get to campus, to meet with a career advisor to discuss, is that a good direction for them to go?
Sure, of course. And again, I want you to frame this in the idea that you're starting with your first degree, whether that be in the MBA program, the international business, the marketing, or the finance. And so throughout that 1 year experience, again, we're getting you to a point where we're working towards your strategy of what job or industry you want to be in. Now, for many of you, you're going to take a moment of pause during your first 3 to 4 months while being at Hult to reflect back on, is that the job that I actually want? Are these classes influencing my decision on what skills I'm really good at? Or maybe I have a different interest area now after learning from these amazing faculty and my peers. And your decision to take on a dual degree could also reflect that. So perhaps you wanted to go into doing, I'm just going to give an example, an international business 1 year program, and then you want to continue on to do the business analytics program. But you decided to think, you know what, I'm actually really great at marketing. I'm going to go down that route. So throughout your 1 year experience, your advisor is going to help guide that conversation as is. Does a dual degree support your end goal? Do you really need to obtain a full other degree to get to that end goal? Or could you take summer elective courses that help you specialize in some of those specific areas? So again, throughout your first year journey, you're really going to shape the direction of where you go. Now, for those who do come back into the dual degree program after finishing their first year master's, yes, for some of those who qualify for CPT to do another internship, you can, to get a little bit more experience in that specialized area of the dual degree. But we're only doing it for 6 to 8 months. It's a little bit more fast paced when you think about the career journey you have once you come back. It's really go to market. It's your networking, you're applying, you're interviewing, you're getting yourself out there so that you can acquire not only a great job, but also work towards applying for your OPT as well.
Great. And Lauren, as far as working during the dual degree, what's your take on that?
Sure, and again, this comes back to visa regulations, and I want to be very clear. If you start your first year program in the United States, that's in Boston or San Francisco, you are eligible to do your CPT throughout your fall and your spring of the dual degree program. For those coming in from London and Dubai, unfortunately, because you haven't been in the United States for 8 consecutive months, you don't qualify for an internship during the dual degree, but you do qualify to do OPT, which is the optional practical training, which gives you the 1-year work authorization after you graduate.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. So with that, we're gonna close out the session today. And again, we're gonna address all of the questions that we have in the chat room and the Q&A that we weren't able to get to today. So I'd like to thank our speakers for attending and joining us today. We're hosting virtual open houses at each of our campuses this week. So if you're interested in learning more about another campus, please go to the link that is being shared in the chat box and register, or you can go to the Halt website on the events page where we have a number of the different events listed. A couple of the other things that just came up as far as general questions regarding scholarships. We do post scholarships on the Halt website. You can find those. And then each person that comes into the program has an enrollment advisor that they work with. So please ask questions, bring that up, and we work with students from all over the world, and each incoming student does have an enrollment advisor assigned. So I'd like to thank everyone today for attending. We will send a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar, and we appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall. And we will share, again, our contact information in this last slide here. So thank you again for your time today, and to the speakers.